What's up, guys? My name is Bobby Foddy Wop, and for those of you that don't know me, I basically edit the Star Wars sequel trilogy that Disney gave us. My goals in my edits are basically to make the series much more epic, tie into the greater Star Wars universe, and kind of not just give some bland copy of the original trilogy. If you hadn't seen any of my other previous videos, I would go ahead and watch my how I edited The Force Awakens and how I edited The Last Jedi, so that way what I'm talking about makes a lot more sense. But basically, summary is the Knights of Ren and Finn are dead, and Captain Phasma and Luke Skywalker are still alive. And this video will be picking up, basically I'll be giving my edits to The Rise of Skywalker. Overall, I thought this movie was okay. I thought it was a good movie. It was interesting. I liked it a lot better than The Last Jedi. But I don't entirely would say I liked it as a Star Wars movie. I thought bringing back Palpatine as the main villain was kind of cheap and kind of just really showed that the directors had no idea what they were doing separately. So when J.J. Abrams then had to come and take over, he was kind of like, oh, shoot, Snoke's dead. What do I do? Oh, I'll just bring back the main villain that was already defeated, but he'll come back just by, we'll use some quote. The prequel memers will like that one. So my edit kind of ties in a lot more of explaining why and how Palpatine was able to survive. I also will say I felt like there was no character development for anyone except for Kylo Ren / Ben Solo, and I thought that was kind of not useful. By that, I mean, I basically wanted him to live at the end. I feel like I already gave Finn enough of a use in The Last Jedi, sacrificing himself so the rebels were able to escape, because honestly, in this movie, he really did nothing. So without further ado, let's get started. First of all, change the name. It's garbage. Gives away the entire movie. I would change it to Destiny of the Dyad, or something cool like that. Anyway, movie starts out, Kylo Ren's flagship then lands on Mustafar, and he goes through and he slaughters all those villagers like the movie. I thought it was a pretty cool scene showing his lightsaber techniques. Next, he goes to Vader's castle, and as he's going through the ransacked temple, he comes across the Sith Wayfinder he's been looking for. But when he's about to grab it, Force Ghost Anakin, played by Hayden Christensen himself, will grab his arm and tell him, "Stop. I know you've been calling me and asking me to give you, wisdom and such, and I'm here to tell you, don't go down this path." Kylo Ren then turns to him and says, "You know what? I used to want to be like you, but now I've found out that I'm better," and he takes the Sith Wayfinder and leaves. He then proceeds to go to Exegol. But on Exegol, Kylo finds Palpatine, not in a lab room attached to some weird robot arm, but instead in a Sith burial chamber fully limber. Here, we learn that Palpatine is Sith for parasite, and that Palpatine lived by finding another host to live off of and consume to the dark side. We also learn that Snoke was once an old Sith master brought back to life by Palpatine's power he has over midichlorians. Palpatine used Snoke as a puppet then to get to Kylo. Now, since the Final Order, aka the First Order, but I call it the Final Order because it's a cooler name, is left with only 5 Star Destroyers, Palpatine offers his fleet of new Star Destroyers that aren't done yet to join Kylo's cause if only he follows Palpatine's final order of wiping out the Jedi. So now we cut to the Resistance. Poe gets the info from the traitor in a similar way, except Finn isn't his co-pilot, just have some random alien substitute. Also, no dumb hyperspace jumping, there's just so many things wrong with that. Cut to the Resistance base where Rey has been training under Leia and Luke and has been using Leia's old saber, a double-bladed blue one. Leia seems weak and attributes that to Kylo being more troubled. And I know Carrie Fisher is dead and that hindered this movie a lot, but in my fictional version, CGI makes it seem okay. The gang of Chewie, Rey, Poe, BB-8, and C-3PO then head to the sand planet of Pastian, where the events go pretty similar with Lando and such, except there's no Knights of Ren, as they're dead, and Kylo and Rey accidentally split the transporter in half, as I have her shooting Force lightning in the movie before. They use their brains and Force powers to realize Chewie is alive and on a separate transporter as they escape. The gang, now with Dio, fly off to Kijimi. Okay, so on their way to Kijimi, Dio remarks how he recognizes Rey and how his old dead master once sought her. The gang then lands on Kijimi, and C-3PO is actually useful by giving them the Sith clue after being reset by Babu Frik. Zoe was cool, but she needed a better design, so I gave her one with retractable blades and double pistols. We also learned that Poe was part of a bounty hunter gang with Zoe, and he was the pilot, not a spice runner. We don't need another complete Han Solo ripoff. They then go to the Star Destroyer, and Rey and Kylo do their similar Force FaceTime fight, and it's revealed that Rey is Palpatine's granddaughter. The big difference is that when Poe is caught freeing Chewie, Phasma turns out to be the traitor and goes with them as they escape with Rey and go to Endor. Phasma states how Finn's decision to spare her life really impacted her and caused her to decide to defect as well, giving her an interesting arc and showing how Finn becomes more after death. He becomes a symbol of rebellion. Alright, so now the gang rides up to Endor, and it's pretty similar. The bull riding people recognize Phasma, as they were once troopers for the Final Order, but they say how they rebelled because they were inspired by the Finn. Jan is not pleased with Phasma at first, but they get closer throughout the movie. Inside the wreckage of the second Death Star, when Rey goes into Palpatine's private room to find the second Wayfinder, her vision is of her instead in the mirror space from The Last Jedi, this time with Palpatine behind her laughing, begging her to come to Exegol to fulfill her bloodline. Rey and Kylo then have a similar lightsaber fight, except this time Kylo has his helmet on, but it's blown off by a powerful force push from Rey. After Rey force heals Kylo, she flies off in his fighter to Ahch-To. We then go to Asian Kloss and see that the temporary death of her son was too much for Leia and she dies. Kylo is then visited by Force Ghost Leia. Those two share a heartfelt moment which causes Kylo Ren to turn into Ben Solo as he rejects his lightsaber into the ocean and steps on his helmet, destroying it. As Rey lands on Ahch-To, I want this scene to have a lot of heart. Luke lands Poe's orange and blue X-Wing as Rey is burning the TIE Fighter, and she tells Luke that she won't be going to Exegol because she is worried that her relationship to Palpatine might tempt her to turn evil and fulfill her bloodline. Luke then laughs and lectures her on how the Force is stronger than blood and that he has faith in her. He then levitates the X-Wing out of the water, which honestly is my favorite scene in this movie. But then he does not go with her, as he says he feels a need to stay. As Rey flies off, Luke tries to steal the ancient Jedi text from the old tree on Ahch-To, but is visited by Force Ghost Yoda. Luke tells Yoda how he needs the books in order to teach the next generation of Jedi, but Yoda does the lightning strike, saying how the old teachings of the Jedi are outdated, and that Luke should be teaching the Jedi his way. Luke then flies off in his X-Wing back to Asian Kloss to help plan the final battle on Exegol. Hux, now Supreme Leader of the Final Order, gets a hologram from Palpatine, who tells him how the fleet will soon be ready, but an example must be made first. Palpatine then removes the fog that surrounds Exegol, as the Sith no longer need to hide, and now we aren't left wondering how Lando's fleet made it all the way through that red vortex. Anyway, Hux gets 6 new Star Destroyers that he leads to Kijimi to destroy it. Also, side note, it takes multiple Star Destroyers, death lasers to blow up a planet, not just one, because that would just be too overpowered. Poe, Phasma, Chewie, 3PO, BB-8, Dio, and Janna, and all the bull riding people roll up to Asian Kloss with the plan to stop the Final Order Star Destroyers, similar to the original movie. Lando still goes to get help, and Phasma states how the Final Order will be able to jam speeders, but Janna says she can help with that. During the Battle of Exegol, Poe and his custom black and orange X-Wing with BB-8 will be competing on who is a better pilot versus Luke with R2 and his X-Wing, similar to Legolas and Gimli from Lord of the Rings. On the way to the Battle of Exegol, Phasma hacks into the Final Order communications and sends a holo message to all troopers telling them that if any troopers had ever wanted to rebel against the Final Order, now is the time to do so. Join the Resistance and fight for what Finn stood for. Phasma then leads the bold charge on the head Final Order ship to destroy the GPS tower, wearing her helmet with 3 blood lines, a tribute to Finn. Many other Final Order troopers will defect and join her and do the same to their helmets. Hux will be in the bridge of the ship and will be killed by his own men rebelling against the Final Order, Caesar style. In battle, Zoe's ship will be severely damaged and she has no choice but to eject out, but then she joins the battle on the Star Destroyer, helping the Resistance, showing off her skills and such. The Resistance win and the Final Order is defeated. So while the space battle of Exegol is going on, Rey shows up to Exegol and Palpatine states how if she kills him, his parasitic dark spirit will take over her and continue to lead the Final Order using her body as a puppet. Ben Solo shows up to save Rey, except this time, Palpatine resurrects Sith of old to fight him, using his midichlorian manipulation powers, displayed by Red Lightning. Ben is in trouble, except him and Rey are each still carrying the half of Anakin's saber, which reconnects itself in Ben's hands behind his back, and Rey and Ben slaughter the Sith zombies epically using cool combos utilizing Rey's Force Lightning and such. Ben and Rey then face Palpatine in a duel where Palpatine baits each of them to kill him so he can take over their body. He eggs Kylo on by saying how he can finally become more powerful than Vader and how Rey could fulfill her bloodline. Both refuse. They then battle Palpatine till he gets Ben in a Force Lightning lock, so Rey has no other choice but to stab and kill her grandfather, and we see his evil spirit then pass on to her. We then see Rey struggle with the conflict of being possessed by Palpatine, and we're taken inside her head as we see the mirror scene from The Last Jedi, but this time Palpatine is in the mirror, hovering above Rey, laughing, bragging how he is in control of her. Rey then screams for Ben to leave the planet, and rebels against the internal struggle and proceeds to bring the roof down on top of her by using Force lightning to stop Palpatine once and for all. Ben Solo escapes as the ceiling is falling, and there is no fan service kiss. Gosh, that was annoying. Ben then meets up with Luke and all the Resistance people in Asian claws, and they all celebrate as the Final Order is defeated, along with the Sith. Ben then asks to be Luke's Padawan again, to which Luke denies the request, and instead asks to be Ben's partner. Phasma then joins Janna to try and help stormtroopers who were brainwashed by the Final Order. My Rise of Skywalker basically then ends a couple years later, with Ben Solo and Luke going to Tatooine to visit Luke's old house and bury Anakin's saber, as Ben now has a new one, which is a purple lightsaber. For those of you that don't know, purple lightsabers are given to those that are more darker than a standard Jedi. Perfect for Ben. Ben acquired a scar over his left eye during the battle with Palpatine when he was in that lightning lock, and Luke remarks how Ben's scar is similar to Anakin's scar, his grandfather. The two then look out onto the two suns of Tatooine with Force Ghost Leia's hand on Ben's shoulder to reveal a new Jedi temple being constructed in the distance. I honestly can't take credit for the whole new temple idea. That was George Lucas's, and I think it's fantastic. The scene then shifts to show the new temple, but much further away and from a different angle. This time, we see a figure in a dark gray cloak holding a yellow lightsaber. The camera turns and reveals that it's in fact Rey, now a gray Jedi, with a half-damaged face. The movie then ends with this semi-cliffhanger.